Welcome to the Prophetic Almanac, where Pastor Bill Jenkins releases information, inspiration, and divine revelation from the Word of God to set you up for success in your daily life. Pastor Bill will unlock the hidden messages of the Bible through understanding the dates, places, people, and numbers that will explain the true intent of the Lord for your life. An opportunity of a lifetime awaits you today for a prophetic word to be released in your life, to be a voice and not an echo. Let's join Pastor Bill.
Welcome to the Prophetic Almanac. This is Pastor Bill. So glad that you joined us. We are declaring this week to be Reset Week. Now, if you have the Prophetic Almanac for 2017, then you know that one of the four things that 17 revolves around when it's mentioned in the Bible is around the reset. And as we enter the 9th month, which, you know, we're sort of in the middle of it when I'm doing the taping for the show, it is the month of birthing. So if you hit the reset button in January and then you have sort of, maintained that, vision in your heart to reset things in your life in 2017, I believe this is a month you're going to start seeing some things birth, come to pass, come out of your spiritual belly, so to speak, and I believe you're going to start to see some change. Now, the problem with a lot of people is they start something, but they don't really carry it out. They don't carry it out. They don't do what they need to do. They don't protect the baby when it's in the womb. Remember, just because there's a conception doesn't always mean there's a birth. So when you have something conceived, you can do one of three things. You can either abort it, you can either miscarry it, or you can give birth to it. Birthing takes a process. It takes a while in order to do. It's not just overnight. I know a lot of ladies would love it to be something where, hey, you get pregnant one day, you get maybe a month of pregnancy, and then you give birth to the baby, but that's not the way it works. And so it's the same way in the spiritual realm. Some things take longer than what we like, than what we want to, and it's a difficult process to wait. See, there's different seasons. In, our world, we really have 4 seasons. You have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And in the spiritual seasons, there's 4 seasons as well. You have, the planting season, the watering season, the waiting season, and then the reaping season. And the hardest season isn't the planting season. It isn't the watering season. It isn't even the reaping season, because we love that. The hardest season is the waiting season, where we have to wait on the Lord, where things don't come fast enough for us, where we feel like we've waited too long for something already and we don't have the patience to wait another day. And sometimes we have a tendency to think, and the devil is very good at putting thoughts in our mind that, will cause us to get discouraged, in that he will tell us that the delay means a denial, or that the delay means that maybe God didn't say it at all, when you cannot do that. I love the story in the Bible where Daniel prayed and fasted for 21 days. And when the angel finally showed up, he said, I was sent for thy answer on the first day, but it took me 21 days to get here, because there was the prince of Persia that fought me. Now, when you study that prince of Persia, you understand that the prince of Persia is really about a spirit of delay, where the devil delays things. The devil fights the promises of God. He fights the word of God to be brought to you and to me in our lives. And when he fights us like that, why would, our angels, our God-sent angels, fight for us if we're not willing to fight for ourselves? If we're that quick to give up when the enemy fights us, when struggles go on in our lives, I don't know why the angels of the Lord would fight for us if we don't fight for ourselves. So we got to be willing to fight, hold on, not let go. What if Daniel would have gave up after 10 days, 15 days, 20 days? He would have missed out on the miracle. The angel of the Lord said, I was sent for thy word the first day, but the prince of Persia fought me. There was a war going on. The word-bringing angel said, I had to call upon the warring angel, which was Michael, and together, both Gabriel and Michael fought that battle and got the victory, created a hole, an opening for the word to get down to Daniel. Well, that's what happens. That's spiritual warfare. Whether you like that or not, whether you think it's too Hollywood or not, that's the fact. The devil's going to fight the revelation and the manifestation of the word of God from coming to pass in our lives. He doesn't want us to get it. He knows that if we can get the revelation of God's word in our lives, that we are dangerous and that his attacks will not win against us. So of course he's going to fight us. don't think for 1 second just because you come to the Lord, the battle is over. No, that's when the battle begins. The enemy's going to fight. He's going to come against you. There's going to be struggles. He's going to try to get you to quit, make you second think. The fact that, you even gave your life to the Lord to begin with. He's going to tell you, oh, you had it better off when you were living for the devil. Yeah, well, he didn't fight you then. He already had you. Now that you're living for God, that's when the devil's going to fight you. And so this is a season when you're going to have to be willing to maybe, push that baby out of that womb. It's going to take a little effort. It's going to take a little, work. Anything worth having is going to take work. You can't just expect it to just snap your fingers, happen overnight. If everything was that easy, we wouldn't appreciate it. So we need to know that, this is the birthing month. September is the birthing month. You got to take care of that baby. Hopefully you've taken care of it in all of these months, haven't got discouraged, haven't felt like God's forsaken you, forgotten you, it's been, too much of a delay before you get your promise. But you must understand that this is the birthing month. 9 is the birthing month. It's the number. It's the fruit of the Spirit. It's the gifts of the Spirit. Number, where when you see it, the Spirit is connected in some way to the number 9 every time it's mentioned. So this is the birthing month. And this week on the Prophetic Almanac, we're going to be talking about resetting. Resetting. I'm going to release a brand new book coming up. As a matter of fact, if you want to pre-order it, you can do that. Just go to WIMDradio.com, go to churchofacts.org, DesLandCC.org. You can pre-order a copy for $10. It's a great book. It's not going to be some super big, huge encyclopedia book, but it is a great book, and it's a book that I felt like God wanted me to release in 2017, because 17 is about the reset. When you look in the Bible and you see the number 17, it is about the resetting of things in our life. You've heard the story, but it bears repeating again, that 2 kings in the Old Testament had their reign come to an end after 17 years. So they reigned for 17 years, and then something came to an end. Okay, their reign came to an end. Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years, and then that period of his life came to an end. Joseph had his family life come to an end at the age of 17. All of these things tell us that 17 is a number that God uses to represent a resetting that's going on in our life. We're going to talk about that. I just finished this brand new book. It's about to be published, and it's all about the reset. That's the name of it. In real little letters on the cover, it says it's all about, and then a big, reset button, the reset. It's time to hit it. It's time to hit it. If you haven't already, then you need to do it now. If you have and it doesn't seem to be working, then hit it again. But this is a season. These, next few months leading to the end of 2017 is about rebooting, reinventing, and really allowing God to restore you in your life. It's going to be it's really a fantastic book. We're going to talk about how to know when you're going to reset, like resetting signs. What are some signs you need to reset your life? What does resetting mean? What does resetting involve? What about an acronym for the word reset? Resetting your mindset. Your mind is your greatest battleground. And in this book, it's all about the reset. We're going to talk about how to reset your mind. Your mind is the greatest battlefield. If you can learn how to take authority over your thoughts, and if you can learn how to take them into captivity and not allow them to hold you captive, then you're going to walk in victory in your life. We're going to talk about resetting your life. What does it mean to reset your life? I'm going to tell you about it because it's an awesome thing that I think all of us really need to sort of, grasp a hold of. What are some areas in your life? I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what are some areas of our life that we need to sort of reset. What are some areas we need to look at in our life? I put a little chart, a little wheel in this book when it comes to the chapter on resetting your life. And I talk about how resetting your life is like detoxing your soul or rebooting a computer. And there's some areas that you need to evaluate to consider if you need to reset. Like, for instance, you don't need to maybe reset everything in your life. Maybe you just need to reset one little portion of your life. So maybe it's your finances. Your finances, I tell you what, a lot of people, most people, over 90% of people are in debt. 95% of people have credit card debt. And most people have over $8,000 worth of debt on their credit card. Well, listen, if you're spending more than what you're making, it's time to reset your life. It's time to reset your finances in your life anyway. Maybe you don't need a major overhaul in all areas, but in the area of finances, you may be thinking to yourself, yeah, I need to do that. If you're overwhelmed, if you're worried, if you can't sleep, if you're arguing about money, if you can't make ends meet, if you don't have a budget, you're going to need to reset your finances. You're going to have to figure out what's coming in and what's going out. See, 2017 is about the reset. Resetting things in your life. You know, if there's constant fighting going on in your home because you're spending more than what you make, there's only two ways to change that. Either make more or spend less, or make more and spend less. So there's only two ways. You know, maybe you need to maybe you're making enough, but you're spending more than what you should. Maybe you're not making enough and you're still spending more. Either way, you're going to have to figure out what you got to do. This isn't rocket science, guys. You're going to have to come to terms with the fact that these are simple solutions, but they're hard maybe to implement in your life. But you know what? They're really easy solutions. You just have to have the discipline to carry these things out. So finances, you may not need to do a major overhaul on your life, but you may need to do a major overhaul and a resetting in your finances. What about your priorities? Are your priorities out of order? God first, then your family, maybe your wife before your kids instead of your kids before your wife, or vice versa? Are you doing the wrong thing by putting your kids above your spouse? Absolutely. Your kids are going to leave. Your spouse is going to be there forever, hopefully. So you got to make sure you prioritize your life. We don't put things in front of the Lord. God's number one. But then it's our spouse. Then it's our kids. Then it's our job. Then it's church. Then it's all other activities. And too many people do not have their priorities in order, and they're wondering what is going on in their life because there's so much chaos and panic. Well, it's really simple. If you get things in order in the area of your priorities, it's going to make, being able to say yes and no to different things that pop up in your life very simple. Sometimes you say yes to things you ought to say no to. Sometimes you say no to things you ought to say yes to. And it's because you're not managing your time properly. There's an imbalance in your life. Proverbs 11:1 says a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. It's very important that you learn to prioritize your life. Maybe you don't need a major overhaul, but maybe in your priorities, maybe it's affecting other things. See, sometimes one little thing can affect a whole bunch of things. And you think, well, you know what? It certainly couldn't be that affects that one thing. Well, yes, it can. One little thing, one little joint out of whack can, make your body feel like a mess. I have kidney stones from time to time. It's amazing how little those kidney stones are. But when you pass a kidney stone, boy, there's a lot of pain before and then as you pass that kidney stone, and then even a little bit afterwards. And it's a little thing, but it creates a lot of pain, and it affects a lot of areas of your body. So not having your life prioritized is a problem. And so you got to get it prioritized. And maybe you just need to reset your priorities. Say, okay, this has been out of whack. This is out of control. I got to get this straightened out. I don't need a major overhaul, but you know what? Hey, I got to get, my priorities reset in my life. What about your marriage? What about your other relationships? Every marriage, every single marriage, from time to time needs a little resetting to go on. And it's just about staying ahead of the curve. Every relationship needs a little tweaking. There's nothing wrong with that. There's times, I've been married 19 years. And, there's times, that, you just need a little tweaking. You need to stay ahead of the curve. Your kids get older, things change, you might move, things are different on the job. There's a lot of different things that, might happen. And if you don't stay ahead of the curve, I promise you, it is going to catch up to you and it is going to get the best of you. So you have to make sure that you are, doing your job, doing your part, making sure that, you're staying ahead of that curve. Me and my wife have to learn that. I think we learn it, and then something else, comes in our life, throws us another curveball. But you got to stay ahead of it. You got to make sure you're continuing the date nights, making sure that you're continuing to spend time together. Make sure you're prioritizing your marriage. Make sure you're not putting the kids above your spouse, making sure you don't let the sports and the other extracurricular activity get in the way of your marriage. You've got to make sure that you are resetting your marriage. Listen, resetting your marriage doesn't mean you have a bad marriage. It doesn't mean you're, off the tracks and you've had a major, problem. It just means, hey, I'm staying ahead of things. I'm staying on top of things. And I want to make sure that things continue to go the right way, because I know this success isn't going to happen in any area of your life: finances, your priorities, your health, your emotions, your job, your calling, your marriage, your relationships, if you just sit there and do nothing. Life is going to throw you some curves. It's going to bring some change. You've got to stay on top of it. And you may not need a major overhaul in every area of your life. It may be too much. It may be more than what you need. It may just be one phase, one area of your life that you need to tweak, and it can make everything else in your life better. You are listening to the Prophetic Almanac. I'm Pastor Bill. This is Resetting Week. We want you to reset if you haven't already. We want you to. If you have and you need to do it again, that's all right. We're not mad at you. We want you to be ready for everything that God has for you in the last part of 2017. And as we go into 2018, we're going to talk more about the resetting right here on the Prophetic Almanac when we come back after these messages.
Do you wish life had a reset button? Then come make a fresh start at Destinyland Christian Center, 10 a.m. every Sunday morning in Ontario, California. To find out more, visit our website at destinylandcc.org. That's destinylandcc.org. Or call us today at 909-545-6455. Everything Under the Sun is an amazing, captivating, heartwarming book that will provide hundreds of interesting, one-of-a-kind and relevant stories, sermons, quips, quotes, and more, which you can use to supplement your own sermons or messages, or to encourage you on a day-to-day basis. To learn more and be encouraged by ordering this book, please visit us online at churchofacts.org. That's churchofacts.org.
Welcome back to the Prophetic Almanac. This is Pastor Bill, and this is Resetting Week. We want you to know that as you come to an end of this year, 2017, that 17 is about the reset. Remember, 2 kings in the Old Testament had the reign come to an end after 17 years. Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years. Joseph had his family life come to an end at the age of 17. They were all periods where something came to an end and something new was about to begin. And I tell you that because those are the little things that 17 is connected to the reset. The big thing is in Genesis how the flood started on the 17th day of the month, and then also how the ark came to rest on Mount Ararat after the flood on the 17th day of the month. So 17 is connected to the reset. By the way, Mount Ararat, when you Google it, is about 17,000 feet high. So 17 is connected to sort of the ending, the beginning, a resetting in our lives. And so when you reset something, you set it again. You change the reading back to 0. You move something back to its original place and position, sort of like a broken bone, a mileage odometer. It's like a stopwatch, timing gun, whatever it may be. You reset it, okay? When you have a stopwatch, you can either restart it or reset it. Restarting it from that point is not going to be enough. You sometimes have to go back to your last act of disobedience and make things right before God can thrust you into your future. And so we're talking about it this week. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your pastor, tell other church members, tell everybody, put it on Facebook, social media. Tell them to go to WIMD Radio and listen to us on the Prophetic Almanac. Tell them to go to our YouTube channel. Tell them to get the Prophetic Almanac for 2017. There's still enough time for you to get this awesome prophetic word into your life for this year. What a powerful word that God has given in this book, the Prophetic Almanac for 2017. I believe God's given us a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reset, rewrite, and revive our lives. I'm going to talk about everything from what the number 17 means historically, politically, in the sports world. I'm going to release different prophecies, tell you movies to watch, tell you different people to watch. We're going to talk about politics, sports, movies, entertainment, religion, scripture, people, predictions. I'm going to help you to reset, rewrite, and revive your life. Important dates, uncommon facts, special events, biblical principles. We're going to give you a little Bible study on every book of the Bible that has a chapter 17. Plus, we're going to release a spiritual forecast, a prophetic word for all 50 states. One of the best things that we do in the Prophetic Almanac is that. So this is essential. 17 is essential to you preparing for the new season that God is bringing to you in your life. This is resetting week. So every day we're going to be talking about something concerning the reset. I'm releasing a brand new book called It's All About the Reset. And it's going to be a great book. You need to get a copy of it. You can pre-order it if you want to. Go to churchofacts.org. Go to destinylandcc.org. Go to WIMDradio.com. Don't forget to listen to WIMDradio.com 24 hours a day. Christian programming. We have the Prophetic Almanac. Me and my wife do a program every day, 10 o'clock on the West Coast. Just a little hour variety talk show. Talk about all kinds of stuff on that program. So there are a lot of great things going on we want you to be a part of because we believe it can be a blessing to you. And today we're specifically talking about resetting your life. But what area of your life? You may not need a major overhaul. You may not need something huge. You know, sometimes people, they go to the extreme in order to make a point. You may not need to do that. You need to look at the 6 areas of your life: finances, priorities, marriage, health, emotions, and your job. Those are really the 6 areas that usually end up determining the quality of our lives. For instance, if those 6 areas are flowing pretty good, you're going to feel pretty good about your life. If those 6 areas are not flowing good, then you know what? It's going to affect the quality of your life, or at least how you feel about your life. And so we're talking about your finances. You may just need to reset your finances. You may just need to reset your priorities. You may just need to reset, your marriage or some other relationship in your life. You may need to reset, fourth of all, your health. You may be physically, not feeling well. You may be sick in some way. You may be drained. You may be getting older. You may be getting bigger. You got to learn how to exercise, eat right. You got to learn how to drink more water. You got to learn how to get out there and take a walk, sweat a little bit, do something to make a physical difference. Here's the thing. I know this. If you don't feel good physically, it can affect you every way in realm. So if you don't feel good in your body, it's going to affect you in every other area. You're going to be edgy, crabby. You're going to feel mean. You're going to feel sick, because not feeling good is something, that none of us want. We all want to feel good. We all want to feel good about ourselves, and we all want to feel good about, that we're living long, that we're healthy. And everybody feels energized. They feel better when you eat right, when you exercise, when you do something to help your physical body to live longer. That's a good thing. The 5th thing is your emotions. Now, here's where we're going to get in some trouble, because I know somebody's going to get mad, but anger is not a good emotion. Depression is not a good emotion. Sadness is not a good emotion. Jealousy is not a good emotion. You know what? Your entire life may be affected by the fact that you cannot control your negative emotions. If you can't control your negative emotions, you may not need a major life overhaul. You may not need a major life reset. You may just need to reset your emotions. Your emotions just may need to be reset. You may need to step back. You may need to just take a minute. You may need to shut the phone down, turn the computer off, and just get alone with the Lord and say, God, I don't like the person I'm becoming. I'm angry all the time. I'm jealous. I'm suspicious. I have sadness. I'm depressed. I have negative thoughts. I'm critical of people. All of these things that you may be experiencing. Well, sometimes other people see that in us before we see it in ourselves, and they may point some of those things out to us. It's hard for us to see that initially, but ultimately we have to come to a realization that some of those things that other people are saying are not being said because they're mean. They might be being said because they're true. Most people have an emotion, a negative emotion that they're dealing with that they just can't seem to overcome. You and I have to go to the Lord and have Him help us with our emotions. David was an emotional person. You look in the New Testament, Peter, James, John, 3 people that were close to Jesus. They were emotional. You look in the Bible, both men and women, godly people, they had emotions. They had attitudes. They had bad attitudes some days. They were edgy. They were, crybabies. They were depressed. They were sad. They wanted to kill somebody. They thought about killing themselves. They wished they were never born. These are some of the greatest heroes of the Bible had these negative thoughts enter into their heart, into their mind. Sometimes it's not about changing everything. It's just about allowing the Lord to help you to get control of your emotional life, to where you don't have those extremes, where you're not so up and down, in and out, hot and cold. You don't feel that craziness in your mind. You don't have the emotional imbalance that is there. Now, you may have to go to a doctor. There may be something physically wrong with you, but I also encourage you, go to the Lord and then also learn how to discipline your own emotions. Learn how to control those emotions. You can't always medicate yourself out of a problem, throw money at something to fix it. You're going to have to learn that discipline may be one of the unused keys of life that we are not using as much as we should to overcome the schemes, the tricks, and the traps of the enemy in our life. We're going to be emotional people. You know, I remember when my mother passed away, one of the things that made me feel good is when I seen her in the casket and she was emotionless, because she was an emotional person. And I thought to myself, this is only her body. This is not who she is. Her spirit lives on, because my mother was emotional about everything. I still miss my mom. It doesn't take away all the pain and sorrow, but the bottom line is it helped me to understand that, you know what, we are emotional beings. Even Jesus got emotional. He overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves. He said unto them, it is written in Matthew chapter 21, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. He was mad. He was angry. He overthrew a table. Man, he said, you know, you have made this a den of thieves. He began to attack them because of their disobedience, because of the heinous behavior that was going on in the church house, in the synagogue, in the sanctuary. They're selling salvation is basically what they were doing, making money and profiting off of the forgiveness of sins. You can't do that, but they were. And so sometimes there's a righteous indignation. Sometimes there's a just total out anger and rage that can affect us in our lives. But we cannot tolerate that. We cannot allow that to stop us from being who God's called us to be. And sometimes you just need to ask God to help you in your emotions. Just take a time out, go to your own corner, say, God, help me with my anger, help me with my sadness, help me with my edginess, help me with my depression, help me with my jealousy, whatever negative emotion it may be. You need to ask God to help you. And then the last thing, it may be your job. You know, your job, you know, you just don't ever think that moving, from one city to another, or quitting a job and taking another one, or going to another church is going to solve all your problems. That's not going to happen. And if you look at resetting as that's what it's about, you're going to miss the point, because you're going to get into a bigger mess if that's how you think. Resetting is not about just quitting something and starting something new. That's not going to solve it. There's sometimes you're going to have to work through some things, because God is attempting to develop character inside of you and not just solve your problems. So you just don't move from one city to the next. You don't just quit one job and go to another. You just don't quit a church and start going to another one and think that everything's going to be better. That's not going to happen. You're going to make things worse if you're looking at it that shallow and that with that much immaturity. You got to look at it deeper. You got to look at it bigger. There's more to it than meets the eye here. This is a spiritual thing. It's not just to fix your flesh, your emotions, your physical body. This is to help you in every way and realm. And so you can't just make some decision to, just overhaul everything in your life, move out of town and think that just moving out of town is going to fix it, or moving from a church is going to make things better, or that, changing a spouse is going to, make you feel better about the world. It's not. You're going to have to work through some things, and you still got to understand resetting doesn't mean that you just stop being committed. Resetting doesn't mean that you're just not going to be committed anymore. That's ridiculous. That's immature. That is not wise. That is of the devil, and that's going to get you into a bigger hole using your own shovel if you have that kind of mentality. You can't do that. You've got to learn that resetting may not be as big a deal as what you think. A little tweak can make a big difference. You go to a chiropractor, and they do something little, affects all of your body. One little thing can make a big difference in every area of your life. You may not need a major overhaul, but you may need to fix something in your finances, your priorities, your marriage, some other relationship, health, emotions, job. That's fine. But don't go thinking that one little thing, that you're going to need a major overhaul to fix everything in your life. You just don't move out of town. You just don't move away from where you're at. You just don't quit a church. You just don't change a spouse. You got to think through this stuff, and you got to get some counseling. This is the Prophetic Almanac. I'm Pastor Bill. Glad that you joined us. Don't forget to join us all week long. This is Reset Week here on the Prophetic Almanac, and so we want you to listen, tune in. Don't forget to go to WIMD Radio, go to our YouTube channel, tell somebody about us, get a copy of the book, The Prophetic Almanac, and don't forget to pre-order a copy of the Reset book. Glad that you joined us. Until tomorrow, friend, God bless.
Thank you for joining us today on the Prophetic Almanac with Pastor Bill Jenkins. If you'd like to contact him, please visit our website at Church of Acts, that's ACTS.org. or at destinylandcc.org, or you can call us today at 317-783-2287. 317-783-2287. Please join us tomorrow for another great edition of the Prophetic Almanac.